everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Angie. It's nice to have you guys here. Today, at long last, I have another books I've been reading lately video. I've got my coffee, I've got my Kindle, I've got my sticky note with the books. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I've still been reading a lot. I have 8 books on this sticky note, and then I have 4 books on a second sticky note for installment number 6 of this video series. This is installment number 5 for 2020. So I'm going to try to get through these 8 books and try to do all 8 in this one video so that I don't have to turn around and film installment 6 right away. So I'm going to try to keep these brief because some of these books I've already featured on my writer and book account on Instagram, which is at Andrea J. Severson, and I will be getting the others of these as well as the ones on the other sticky note I will be getting up soon. So that is a good place to kind of go to keep track of what I'm reading kind of as I'm reading it. I've taken a slight break from the book review posts, but I will be returning to those. So yeah, if you're wanting some book recommendations in between watching these videos, you can follow me over there. So diving right in, we're not going to make this a long intro. Got them all here. There are quite a few. Book number 1, American Royals by Katharine McGee. I loved this book. I'm quite angry with myself that I didn't think of this idea myself, because I feel like it's such a unique idea that I don't think I could do my own version of it. It just feels like, nah, Katharine has kind of nailed it, and she owns that idea now, and why didn't I think of it? So this book kind of imagines America, the United States of America, if George Washington had become king and not president. It's a royal fiction romance. It's so good. I go back and forth between feeling like this is just contemporary fiction and feeling like it's young adult fiction. Some of the characters are kind of 18, still finishing up high school, getting ready to start college. Other characters are in college, and then the main character is, I think, like 23 or something like that. So it centers around Princess Beatrice, who would be America's first queen. So she's the crown princess, but there had only always been kings of America, never a queen of America. So she'd be the first. So it kind of follows her journey. There's a lot of pressure for her to get a fiance, get married, and establish kind of the succession. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but that's roughly what it's about. What I loved about this book is it feels so authentic. There's this perfect blend of knowledge of American history and tweaking it ever so slightly, but also a clearly strong knowledge of European royalty and how European royal houses work. And then really kind of just how the US would have developed. So there's elements of royal America that bring into play kind of all the unique things about America. So it's not just we'd be exactly the same as European royal houses. We would have our own kind of twist on that. So I loved all of the details that the author put into this. I just thought she did an excellent job. The next book, Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I loved this book so much. I just felt so personally connected to this book. Chloe Brown is a single woman. She has her own business doing marketing and web design and things like that, but she also has fibromyalgia. And I'm sure other books have written main characters with fibromyalgia, but I haven't read them. And I don't think Talia Hibbert has fibro herself, but she definitely did her research, because this book goes well beyond stereotypes of fibromyalgia. Like, if the author doesn't have fibro herself, she definitely interviewed someone or multiple someones who do, because there were so many scenes in this book where I'm like, is she spying on me? this is so accurate. So it is a romance. It's a enemies to lovers romance, but oh my gosh, I loved it so much. There are other things about Chloe Brown that I really relate to in terms of kind of where our life is at. She has a kind of near-death experience. She almost gets hit by a car, and it just makes her kind of look back on her life and think, I really haven't done much. And that's definitely something that I relate to and struggle with myself every now and then. So it was nice to kind of see her go through the process of just kind of feeling really confident about her life and kind of going through that journey. So it is also kind of a book that's like a journey of self-discovery, and I'm all about those kinds of books. Anything that shows a character kind of doing their own thing and creating the life they want and going on that journey, I love. The romance in this is great. The whole enemies to friends to lovers is great. They're both very complicated characters. Like, they've got this kind of complex inner monologue, inner history, personality, and so even when you don't agree with their choices, you totally understand where they're coming from, and it all makes sense. And that's the big thing. That's kind of the big thing I look for. So yeah, I cannot praise this book enough. I absolutely loved Get a Life, Chloe Brown. The next book is The Austen Escape by Katharine Reay. I know I always say this. I loved this book. I did. This was a really cute book. This is kind of a cozy contemporary romance. It's set partially in Texas, and then the main character gets to go on this kind of fantasy trip to Bath, England, where she and her friend will kind of live for 2 weeks or something as Regency era women, kind of like getting transported into a Jane Austen novel. While there, the friend that she's traveling with, her childhood friend Isabel, kind of has a psychological breakdown and actually thinks that she's in Regency England. So if you're a fan of just kind of fun, cozy romances, modern girl, but living in Regency England, what would it be like to live in a Jane Austen novel? I just thought this was really cute, really well done. I really want to read more by Katharine Reay because I just really, really liked her style, and I just thought it was super cute and really made me want to go to Bath again. It's been a while since I've been to Bath, and I've only ever been there for the day. I've never like stayed there, but yeah, it was really good. So if you like any kind of Jane Austen spin, Jane Austen twist type book, if you like cozy romances, I think you'd really like The Austen Escape. Then the next book is The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. I'm obsessed now. I have not read the other books in the series because I've got so many books on my to be read list, but I know that I will go back and start reading the other books in the series, so I'm kind of alternating those. I just thought this was so good. And the other series, the rest of the series are different characters that are introduced in the first book, but they don't, from what I can tell, it's not the same main characters in each book. The Wedding Date. So Alexa and Drew meet in an elevator. It stops partway up to the floor they need to get off on, and while they are stuck in this elevator and talking, sparks kind of fly. They're definitely attracted. There is chemistry, but Drew tells Alexa how he's got to go to this wedding and he's not really looking forward to it. It's his ex and his best friend, and it's kind of complicated, and he doesn't have a date and he doesn't want to go solo, and anyway, he convinces her to go as his date. He then mistakenly lets his friends assume that she's a real date, like she's his girlfriend, so it's kind of a fake relationship trope going on, which I'm finding I really like that trope. And then, of course, actual sparks start to fly, and is it really as fake as either of them is trying to think that it is? I just absolutely loved this book. So yeah, I can't wait to read the rest of the books in that series because I really like Jasmine's writing style. I love her character development, her plot development, and I've heard really, really good things about these books. I've had these books recommended by a couple different friends over the last year or so. They were definitely right. They knew I'd love it. I did. So now I can't wait to read the rest of them. The next book is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix E. Harrow. I had really mixed feelings about this book. Overall, I liked it. The plot was really interesting, and I'm trying to think of how much I can say. I don't want to give too much away, but it definitely gets, like, this would be a sub-genre, sub-niche that we might call portal fiction. So magic doors. So if you like Narnia, it's kind of in a very similar vein. I'm also thinking Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials trilogy that also kind of deals with parallel universes, alternate universes. So there's a lot of that at play in this. So part of it's set in the US in like the 1900s. But yeah, I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to give anything away. It wasn't totally predictable. I kind of knew some of the plot lines and I kind of guessed where some of the things were going to go and how some of the characters were going to be connected, but there were also a lot of surprises in this, and so I loved that. I really did appreciate that. I thought the plot was good. I thought the character development was good. There were some aspects of the characterization that I didn't fully agree with or like the way it was handled. But I also don't know how to fully articulate that. And overall, I did like the book. I think on Instagram I gave it like 4 out of 5 stars. So it was a good book. It was an entertaining read. I do like the writer's style. I do want to read some of her other books. So I don't know if this one just hit me at a weird time, and that's why I just felt a little bit ambivalent about it, or just in a weird mood. I don't know. But overall, I do like it. If you like that kind of fantasy type book mixed with reality, I think you'd enjoy it. It is a good book. Not the best I've ever read, but it is a good book. Then I read I'm Not Dying With You Tonight. Now this one I did read super quick. It's pretty short. I think it was a reading time of like an hour and 46 minutes. It's written by Kimberly Jones and Gilly Segal, and it's about these two girls, one black, one white, who get stuck at a football game on their high school campus. A huge fight breaks out and the police are called, and then there's the tension there kind of spills out into a riot in the main kind of shopping district of the small town. So like the whole thing just kind of gets crazy, and these two girls aren't friends, but it's kind of like, if we stick together we can get through this, and so they're trying to help each other even though they don't really like each other. Lena, who's the black girl, kind of knows what life is really like in this town, you know, what it's like to be black in that town, what it means when the police show up to a fight like that, whereas Campbell is kind of the white girl. She's new in town. She's come to live with her father after living in a predominantly white, affluent neighborhood somewhere else. Her mother works for the state service. So her mother gets a post in Venezuela and doesn't take Campbell with her. Campbell has a very different perspective on police. You know, when she sees the police show up at the football game, she's like, okay, it's all going to be over now. And then, of course, it's not. So there's a lot of like them learning from each other, as well as learning about life and learning about things that are kind of beyond their control. And I just thought it was really interesting. The thing about this book is there are no answers. I don't think you should go into this book thinking it's going to be this amazing transformative adventure, because it is so short and it is kind of told real time, and it alternates between their points of view. So one chapter will be Lena, the other chapter will be Campbell. But I think with everything that has been going on, particularly in the US since the end of May, it was a really interesting read. And I saw an interview with Kimberly Jones talking about this book, and it was inspired by she and her co-author had seen a story coming out of another riot that had happened, and just hearing about a group of teenagers who'd gotten caught behind a police barricade. But the news never really followed up on what had happened to them. So that kind of sparked the idea for this book. So it is definitely based and like rooted in real events and real things that are happening, but they really, I don't want to say they humanize it because I feel like that just sounds cliche. If I had teenagers, I would definitely be recommending this book to them, but even as an adult, just again to kind of get more perspectives and different perspectives, and also trying to read more from diverse authors. I've seen some of Kimberly Jones's other activism work and really kind of like what I've seen. And so when I heard that she'd co-written this book, I was like, well, I need to read this book. Then I read Your Perfect Year by Charlotte Lucas. This is a German book, and so the translation I have was translated by Alison Leyland. It's set in Hamburg. It really made me miss living in Germany. And it's not that there's like tons of stuff that like reference German living, but there was just this kind of vibe I got from the book that just made me miss living in Germany. The main character, Jonathan Grief, finds a diary, a planner, in a bag looped over his bicycle handle when he comes back to his bike after going for a jog around this park on New Year's Day. And when he's looking through it, there's no contact information, there's no information about how to find the owner, and he doesn't know where it came from. But in the planner, it has every day for the whole year has already been filled out with some task to do each day to have your perfect year. And so in the beginning, he's trying to find who it belongs to return it, but then he starts doing the tasks. And at the beginning of the book, Jonathan is this really kind of grumpy, boring, business-focused guy. But as he starts doing some of these tasks and opening himself up to new experiences, he starts to see a kind of shift. But then there's a subplot with Hannah, I think her name is, and Hannah kind of has the perfect life and the perfect boyfriend, and like everything is great until it's not. And so you kind of have these two parallel stories going on. It did keep me guessing quite a ways into the book. There is romance in it, but I wouldn't call it a romance. I am really tempted to see if Charlotte Lucas has any other English translations out available, because I did really like the book. So the last book of this video is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. I really liked this book, but this book also kind of really scared me. And I was reading it at a time when I really shouldn't have been reading suspense books, thriller books, books that might have a like scary ghost element to it. Yeah, I really wasn't like in that place mentally for it. It's not a terrifying book, and under normal circumstances I probably would have been fine, but it is just, it's a good book for like the coming season, like October, November, as the weather starts to turn and as the leaves start to turn. That's the time of year that I love reading anything kind of suspenseful or anything kind of supernatural. So it's a good book for that. I did really enjoy it. I don't want to give any spoilers. The plot development was good. The character development was really interesting. The plot was really interesting. So it's about a girl who takes on a nannying position, a full-time live-in nanny position for this very wealthy family up in like the north of Scotland or something. Like it's way far away and it's pretty remote. It's remote even from the nearest village. It's an old historic manor house that has been kind of modernized and updated. So it's half historic old creaky home and then half like all glass windows and living in a fishbowl. They describe it as like the back half of the house has just been kind of chopped off and then glassed in, and so it's got this like super modern kitchen. The husband and wife that own the house are both architects, so they like very successful, expensive architects, and so they try out all of the latest home accessories and gadgets. So everything's like touchscreen and voice activated and super, super sleek and modern. And of course then there's like glitches, like things just turning on in the middle of the night and all kinds of like random things that are like, is it the technology glitching or is there a ghost? Like, who knows? And when she comes in, when the nanny comes in, she finds out that the previous 4 nannies had all left, like within a month or less. So there's this kind of history of all of these nannies coming and going, and there's rumors of it being haunted and stuff. And then the kind of mystery ensues from there. It's definitely creepy. It's written in the form of the main character telling her story to a lawyer from prison. So you learn from the outset that she has been accused of killing one of the children in her care. And then it goes back to the beginning as she tells her story and how she came to be in this house and then everything that happened. There are no chapter numbers. There's no real chapter division. My Kindle would tell me I had like 2 minutes left in the chapter, 1 minute left in the chapter, but unless there was a clear difference in terms of the text ending towards the top of the page, I never really knew when one chapter was starting. I kind of started to figure it out in terms of how like the story was being told, but it really is just written as kind of one long letter with these really kind of subtle breaks in it. I read it in pretty much one day, and it was really interesting. It was really well done. So I put it on my library holds list, and it took a while, but it finally came available. And so even though I wasn't really in the mood to read a suspense thriller type novel, I also didn't want to have to wait another few months for it to come available. So I figured, okay, I'll read it now, but I'll read it fast and I won't really get like immersed in the book. But yeah, I think if you do like a good suspense thriller, I would recommend this because it did keep me guessing a lot of the way. So those are 8 books, and I think this video is going to end up being about 30 minutes, but I wanted to get one of these filmed. So those are lots of books, a few different types of books. You've got some classic rom-com, you've got some royal fiction, you've got some fantasy, you've got some suspense. So hopefully there's a little something for everyone in this video. I will do another one of these videos soon. If you've read any of these books, I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know if any of these you haven't read but are now on your to-be-read list. I'd love to know which ones have made it onto your list for you. Or just simply say hi in the comments because I love chatting with you guys down there. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. That would be amazing. And subscribe if you are not subscribed. I would really appreciate that. And I will see you all soon in the next video. Thank you very much for watching this one. Bye-bye.